So last week it was confirmed from Jump Magazine that Goku will be getting a new transformation, as of right now unnamed, sometime during the Universal Survival arc. So I want to have a discussion with all of you guys about this new transformation. Not so much the form itself, but the idea of Dragon Ball Super seemingly introducing a lot of transformations. Now for this topic, for this discussion, I want everybody out there to kind of remove yourself from like the fan aspect of Dragon Ball and look at it from a more analytical perspective, just for the purposes of this discussion. Because yeah, transformations are cool. I mean, you know, that's a lot of folks love transformations, nothing wrong with that. But for the purposes of this topic, the real discussion here is going to be, is Dragon Ball Super relying too much on transformations? I feel like Goku is rapidly approaching having more transformations in Super if this show goes on for several more years than he even did in Dragon Ball Z. And it's funny because that's just Goku. We also haven't even talked about characters like Kale and Trunks getting new variations on Super Saiyan. So we have Super Saiyan God in Battle of Gods, which technically came out before Super. We have Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, or Super Saiyan Blue, which again, technically before Super, but it was still redone for the Super anime, and now we have this new transformation. So is Dragon Ball Super relying too much on transformations? Is it lazy writing? Is it uncreative? We're talking about it. Joining me on this video, one of the most requested guests I've ever had, part of the New Talent Initiative here on Geekdom 101. Please welcome, and when I say please welcome, definitely make sure you check the description so you can check out his channel. He does a lot of Dragon Ball commentaries and things like that. And when Fighters comes out next year, I'm sure that he will be, his flagpole will be at full salute. Oh my. Please welcome Rockerai.
How's it going, guys? Thank you so much, Skeeton, for having me today. And let's get into it. I'm ready.
Do you want me to call you Rockerai or KJ, or just, we'll stick with Rockerai?
Either way is fine.
All right, so let's talk about it. So Dragon Ball Super, like I said for the last few minutes, you know, we have a new Goku form. You know, when I was a kid, Rockerai, man, you know, I loved transformations. I totally dug when I played Pokemon Blue, and I know a lot of you out there feel me on this one. And it might not have been blue for you. It might have been like, you know, gold, emerald, whatever you played. And you evolved your Pokemon. He looked different. He was stronger. Transformations have always been used, especially in Japanese culture, both anime and video games, to signify a new level of power. It's how an author can visually showcase to the audience that these characters are now at a new level and will be able to fight tougher opponents. That's nothing new. But I remember, Rockerai, as a kid, I used to love Digimon, but I remember as time went by, I felt like Digimon relied too much on transformations. Every episode, it seemed, it wasn't every episode, you know, the Digimon would get a Digivolution at the end of the episode, and like that's how they would win. It wasn't even about coming up with a creative way to win the battle, or coming up with a more, you know what I mean, something more thought-provoking. It was just a transformation. Do you think Dragon Ball Super is going down this road right now? Do you think that we've seen God, we've seen Blue, we've seen Rose? I didn't even mention that one, even though that's a Goku Black exclusive form. We've seen the Berserk form, and we've seen Rage. Now, also, real quick before you answer the question, I wanted to say that, well, actually, let me save that for later. So first of all, do you think Super's relying too much on transformations? What are your thoughts on that?
I believe it's a yes and no type of situation, because for one thing that we have to take into account here is the fact that as just Goku and Vegeta in general, just those two alone, the transformations are becoming a bit much. We're, like as you said, we're getting God, Blue, and you know the whole thing's just getting a bit crazy now, whereas we're having so many transformations in one series as of, you know, that's had so many less episodes than Z ever did. But the thing about it is these transformations, I feel, are so unique at the same time, but between an ensemble cast of characters, rather, that it works relatively well. But then again, going back to just, you know, if it's just Goku or Vegeta, there's just so many forms that these two are going through right now that it's just, for those two personally, it's a bit much. But I do like how they have, you know, they have Blue, Trunks has Rage, Goku Black had Rose, and Gohan has the Ultimate form. Different things like that, to where they're sort of trying to diversify it, rather than how In Z, it was more so just, 1, 2, and 3, and Gohan had Ultimate, and that was pretty much it for the most part. I feel like Super's doing a better job of diversifying it, but it's still coming at the expense of a lot of transformations and this common plot device happening over and over again, it seems.
It is, and it's also one of those things where, like, when you look at it, and I have talked about this so much on this channel. If you're a long-time subscriber, you've heard me say this. Super is essentially, it is a big merchandise whore, for lack of a better term. Dragon Ball's massive in Japan, tons of merchandise. They're going to always make new forms. They're going to always do that to sell toys and video games and DLC characters and all that stuff. It's all part of the plan, And again, the thing is that it's commercialized. Dragon Ball is commercialized, but it's really no different from other things from Japan like Pokemon and Power Rangers, where they have new Pokemon, new evolutions, new Zords or Mecha and Super Sentai. This is not something that's exclusive to Dragon Ball, but I think a lot of Dragon Ball fans, I think they forget that Japan's always done things like this. But that being said, though, I'm going to give an unpopular opinion right now, Rockerai. I do believe that I find myself kind of being nostalgic for the classic Dragon Ball era where Goku trained more, which we see a little bit of it in Super, but not that much. He doesn't train, we don't see that creative training in Super like we did in Dragon Ball or Z. In Dragon Ball, he had the shells on his back. He had, the training, the spiritual training with Popo, with Karin, all these different things that were so mystical and cool. In Super, we get a little bit of that. Not too much, though, at all. Like, not too much at all. And it's interesting because I kind of missed that. Like, I feel like the idea of Goku just training his body to get better, later on we had the Kaioken and whatnot. That was kind of somewhat of a hack, a precursor to Super Saiyan. Right? I feel like now it's less about... But again, I'm not going to judge the new form yet because we haven't seen it yet. We don't know how he gets it. But I do kind of miss where battles in Dragon Ball back in the day were a lot more strategic,
Yeah. And I agree with you on that the transformation concept, and, this is just what I'm getting, that you're basically saying that while the transformations, they're still cool, obviously. It's taken away from just that old good feeling of just having just a decent martial arts battle where it was more based upon tactics rather than just who can get the highest transformation the quickest, basically. And Super is definitely guilty of that, I think. Though I will say, to a certain extent, I feel like this current arc is doing a somewhat better job of it, especially with the whole restrictions on the actual Tournament of Power grounds, because they're making it to where, for one, every character is somewhat limited because everyone has like a different gravity level. It's not as easy to fly, stuff like that. They're trying to give them limits to where it's more based upon the tactical part, but even still, that's still greatly just overshadowed just by the sense of just its transformations, it's the power-ups, stuff like that, and that does sort of degrade from it. But I think one thing is just the fact that Dragon Ball, as a plot point, as one of its tropes, is that it's done.
It is a trope.
Yeah, is that it's done transformations to get to the highest level of power and such. And I feel like GT with Super Saiyan 4, for example, that was one final form to cap things off, but it was something completely different. And I feel like Super with Super Saiyan God pretty much changed the entire basis of Goku and Vegeta's transformations in a way, because that eventually brought upon Blue. It brought upon, in the manga, Mastered Super Saiyan Blue, in the anime, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. But every single transformation that we've had up until that point is that it's been an extension of the previous God form. So whereas Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken isn't so much of its own transformation.
No, but it's more of a stack. It's a stack on it. You're stacking onto the power.
Exactly. Whereas, Blue and God, that, obviously that's a different thing. But Blue versus Blue Kaioken, like you said, that is definitely more of a stack sort of situation. If we're looking at Goku, for example, he's had, in the anime, he's had basically God in Blue. Those are his two things, and then Limit Breaker, of course,
and now the new one, which has we don't know the name.
Yeah, we don't know the name of it, but I think Limit Breaker is like what people are calling it for now. But
it's a popular fan name.
Yeah, like that. I think though that makes 3 forms for Goku up until this point, which for me, it's kind of at a thing where if this was happening, like, you know, every like 5 episodes is a new form, it would bother me to no end. But
I mean, okay, that's fair, but I just want to throw this out there. Dragon Ball Super is like 105 or so episodes in. He didn't become Super Saiyan until Dragon Ball Z episode 95. So we've already had 2.5 if you count Kaioken, and I'm not even counting the Rose and everybody else. I'm not even counting them, and we should count them. There have been like 5 new transformations, and if you include Golden Frieza, that's like
true.
6.
Yeah,
right,
and
it's
Golden
like
Frieza.
in 105 episodes, dude. Like in Dragon Ball Z, yeah, we saw Frieza transform. That was different, but I mean, like, I feel like it really is crammed in, you know, if you follow that pacing.
Yeah, like, I agree with you on that. Even though I feel like it's presented in a pretty decent way, it's still the fact that these forms are just happening so much. I think it's just the fact that a lot of times, you know, and this is what you made a really good point at the very beginning, saying, you know, you take off the, you know, just the thing of, you know, the transformations are cool and stuff like that, because I do have that whole thing of, like, Rose, for example. I just love Rose. Golden Frieza is awesome. Blue, I love Super Saiyan Blue. But from a narrative perspective, you're right, it does become a bit...
Is it lazy? Is it lazy writing? I mean, honestly.
I wouldn't say it's... Now, I will say I wouldn't call it lazy, necessarily. And the only reason I say that it wouldn't necessarily be lazy writing is... the whole thing of lazy writing is sort of from for some things, lazy writing is sort of on its own case-by-case basis per the person. I only say that because, like, you know, for example, people were saying that, you know, Frieza using the mental training to master Golden Frieza was bad writing. All power.
I love that.
Yeah, all power to them
great.
for that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it makes perfect sense. And mental training is nothing new to Dragon Ball. I don't get why it's such a big deal now. Like right now.
No, I completely agree with you. I don't understand that logic either. But I respect their opinion.
Yeah,
now,
of course.
I'm going to hit you with one more here. I'm going to hit you with this one.
Okay.
Do you think that the new transformations are designed lazily? Because we have Super Saiyan God. It's Goku with red hair, base looking thinner. We have Blue, which is a palette swap. Rose, palette swap. Golden Frieza, palette swap. We have Berserk, which is Broly.
Gender
and
swap.
Then we have... Gender swap. Oh, I love it. And then we have freaking... Rage, which is like, we don't want to give him he's going to have yellow hair, but with blue aura. Are these forms stylistically lazy? Because, look, for all of GT's flaws, GT has 2 of the most creative transformations ever. Golden Uzaru, which is a palette swap, but one that I thought was cool, and Super Saiyan 4, which looks like no other transformation. So in some ways, when somebody tells me that they like Super Saiyan 4's design more than the Super transformations, I can't even argue, and I don't want to argue because there's a point there. The Super transformations look too plain in this new form now. Goku has silver eyes. It's like the Malibu Stacy has a new hat thing from The Simpsons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even look that different, you know?
Yeah.
So do you agree with that, or do you think, does it not matter to you?
Now, I will say this. It doesn't necessarily bother me, though I will agree it's lazy, but at the same time, there's a reason for why there. I remember a long time ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was the point where I believe Toriyama mentioned that he didn't want to make the transformations where it was just they eventually grew longer hair and stuff like that, and to where he didn't want the grandiose forms anymore. So in a way, he kind of already, and I'm not saying that this excuses the sort of like, you know, the stylistic sort of mediocrity of the forms, but he did say that he wanted to make these forms a lot less grandiose before, and this, of course, began with
he
Super
wanted
Saiyan
to
God.
keep them simple, and I do respect Toriyama's simplicity. I do respect that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a little too much, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, and something that I've always felt too was that, you know, the forms are symbolic, and a great video that you know I could point to on that was, you know, Mr. Ninja Star's video a while back about the symbolism of these forms, because that video did a really good job.
Video.
Yeah, it did a really great job of breaking down, you know, how these different auras mean different things and stuff like that. Now, a lot of people will just, you know, look at that video and just be like, Toriyama wasn't thinking that. I'm like, it doesn't matter whether or not he was thinking that. It's just that part of analysis.
But I just want to say, sometimes he is thinking that, and he won't actually say it. That's why Toriyama's very coy with this stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, and it's just the fact that, you know, whether or not that was the author's intention, the fact is that it was there. Is the thing. Now if he came out and said right now, oh, I wasn't thinking, I just switched Goku's hair, then boom, there we go. But part of analysis, at least in my own view of it, is that you look beyond what seems to just be on the page and what seems to just be beyond the author's intentions, and you just look at the entire property as a whole. And, you know, I see, for example, Super Saiyan Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black Rose, I see that connection immediately.
The Black Rose was awesome.
I see that connection immediately.
Yeah, that was tremendous symbolism.
Yeah, and, you know, that's one of those where I could imagine he must have been hinting at that. And if by some chance he wasn't, that doesn't matter, because the fact is, it happened. And the fact is, the symbolism is there.
Toriyama's a very smart man,
He is, and a lot of people underestimate the guy. People really underestimate the guy, because, you know, even Super Saiyan Blue, with as much crap as it gets, the reason why it looks that way is explained very well, because it's the Super Saiyan. I mean, look,
I think Rakurai, I think some fanboys want to have shit spoon-fed to them.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be like that, dude. It's not always going to be like that here. Sometimes you have to figure things out on your own. And just because Toriyama doesn't say something doesn't mean that he doesn't mean something.
Exactly.
You know? It's a visual medium. You don't have to have everything spelled out to you.
Exactly.
You know?
I feel like that's why, I can't remember who said it, but I thought this before too, but someone else agreed with me. If you're watching this video, please comment so I can remember. But me and this other guy were saying that the reason why Whis is telling people all this stuff in episode 104 and such is just because probably just so people would stop complaining about things not being explained. Because you see him, like, breaking down the entire fight with Gohan, and it's just like, that doesn't really seem necessary, but I get why they're doing it. Because people just want it.
Right?
Oh, yeah, my fault. I'm talking about the fight with Gohan and Abuni.
Oh, okay, that was 103. Gotcha.
Okay, my fault. I keep getting mixed up with the numbers. But yeah, like, in that episode, it's just the fact that Whis keeps explaining things to people, and that episode, if we look at it, didn't get many complaints, because I think, for one, it was because everything was, you know, sort of spoon-fed to them. And whether or not Whis explained everything, I would have still been fine with it. It's the same thing with these transformations. It's just the fact that even though the forms, just from an exterior just perspective on it, they look very simplistic. I would say in terms of overall creativity, Rage is the closest thing to a very, very creative form that's come out of it, even though that form in itself is still sort of subpar.
It's a
when
hybrid
it comes to
of two other
creativity.
forms.
Yeah. But even still, it's the fact that there are hidden meanings behind these forms, and while, you know, I know a lot of people say that doesn't excuse the fact that it looks lazy and stuff like that, and I completely respect that. Anything that I've said thus far, I'm not saying that to belittle anyone who feels that way. You know, for example, about Super Saiyan 4, I do agree that Super Saiyan 4 is way more creative than Super Saiyan God, but I just like the look of Super Saiyan God better. I just like the look of it better for whatever reason. I don't know, it just looks
it's
better.
all a matter of taste.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of taste.
Yeah, it's all just taste. So I would say, from just an objective, just looking at it, you know, without looking at anything else, stylistically, yeah, the forms are lazy for sure. But it's just, you know, looking deeper into them, I can understand why they may look, you know, quote-unquote lazy there. And plus, there are just other hidden meanings there that we can find looking deeper into it. But, you know, that's just my 2 cents.
No, I mean, that's a very good point as well. So we're going to go ahead and take it to the comments. And, of course, I'm going to put a poll in the upper right-hand corner of this video. Let us know, are there too many transformations in Super? Do you want a different kind of... And I'm not knocking transformation necessarily.
Yeah.
I do like what Rakurai said about, like, you know, yeah, they have meanings. But are there too many of them? Do you want kind of... Because I feel like after this one, they got to hold back for a long time, if ever. I don't want to see Goku ever get a new form again. I think this is it for him. He can get stronger. I'm not saying he can't, but the idea of him just getting a new form... I don't know, but again, everybody has a right to their opinion. Let us know yours in the comments, and check out Rakurai. I will leave a link to his channel down below, and thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much for having me.
We'll catch you down the road.